Joe, we talked about the offense expanding, and you did again with, I think, more 10 personnel than you had the prior 3 weeks combined. How did you evaluate how it executed and the results, and also how important was it to have this week? Because when you have a guy like Micah coming back, that may reconfigure things at the receiver position going forward.
Yeah, we just felt, during the game planning process, that 10 personnel provided us with a good opportunity in both the run game and the pass game. I think you saw we were able to do some creative things with Jalen Redd in the first half. We had some more things on deck in the second half, particularly out of a 3-by-1 formation. But I think we only ended up outside of that last drive running 15 plays in the second half, so we were a little bit limited in our opportunities. Scored on 2 of the 4 drives. But, certainly 10 personnel was prominently featured in this game plan, and we think it's one that could be very good for us moving forward.
A.J. Jacobson, Rivals.
Coach, you look at this season as a whole, and the offense has been pretty good. It runs the ball well, it's balanced, it passes the ball well. But what do you have to do to take the next step forward to be an excellent offense?
Yeah, I think we're playing above average right now, and I think we have a lot more in the tank. I think we need to continue creating explosive plays, which we've done and met our goal for all the games. We have to eliminate the turnovers, and I don't know that means 0 every game, but certainly minimize them. And I think that's probably the biggest thing right now for us to take the next step, and then continue doing well on third down and score touchdowns in the red zone. So I'd say to take that next step from above average to exceptional would be minimizing to eliminating the turnovers.
Ryan Thorburn, register guard.
Joe, Cal has had a strange season just with cancellations, playing on short notice, losing on a PAT block, but Justin Wilcox is known as a good defensive coach. What are you expecting from this year's Cal team?
Yeah, between Coach Wilcox and Coach Sermon and Coach DeRuiter, they've got a very seasoned and veteran and experienced defensive staff. I think the trademark of their unit is their aggressiveness and their physicality and their effort. It's kind of what you see every week. You're going to play a little bit of a mix of a 4-down and a 3-down front. Some 1 high and 2 high coverages. Mixing up the pressures. But I think you look at the guys; they're very physical at the point of attack up front. Have some real big bodies. 3 guys close to 300 pounds. The Will linebacker, 6'6", 250, and then the number 24. I think he's one of the best corners we've seen this season.
Julian Minnesota, KZI.
Joe, why do you think Devin Williams has been, aside from his obvious physical ability, been so successful and effective the last 2 weeks compared to the first 2?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we discussed last week, that he's had really good practice habits and, worked very hard and, given great effort and worked on the precision and the understanding of the scheme. And then he's carried that into the game. And I think it's, you see we've spread the ball out to a bunch of different, receivers and tight ends and backs and have had a lot of dispersal of touches to personnel. And, the last 2 weeks have just happened to be a game where the X receiver has been featured prominently, either because of coverage or because of, where the quarterback was able to go with the ball. So I think it's probably a combination of those things.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
In a loss like this, Joe, I wonder, do you spend more time focusing on some of the failures execution than you do on some of the successes? For example, just the second to last drive there where you need a first down or 2 to ice it and you can't get it done. Do you focus more on those plays, or I guess how do you review a game like this?
Yeah, we acknowledge everything. So I think part of the process, with a young team and a new offense, going through a lot of this for the first time is making sure they understand what they've done well, leading the pack in scoring, almost 300 yards a game passing, a bunch rushing, and, doing a bunch of real nice things from an explosive play in the third down standpoint. And then you talk about what we didn't do well in that game, which was the turnovers and not being able to, string some first downs together on that last drive and giving them the ball back. So those were the points of emphasis in our meeting on Sunday.
Tyson Alger, The Athletic.
A couple of first times we've been able to see Tyler respond to certain situations, whether it be a fourth quarter drive where they're down and he needs a score, and then just he's never lost yet. I mean, what have you seen from him kind of late in that game and then just in the day since and how he's responded?
Yeah, I thought his response to adversity was pretty good throughout the course of the game. Had the early turnover, bounce back from that, and then the one backed up in the second half. And then we ended up, getting down and needed a long sustained drive to end in a touchdown to regain the lead, and kind of collected himself on the sideline, got himself together, and I think the kid prides himself on his preparation and his competitiveness. And I think, like I said about the offense in general, I think he's been playing at an above average level for a first-time starter in a new offense against all Pac-12 opponents. No group of fives, no FCSs to kind of warm yourself up. And he would agree that for us to take the next step, he's got to continue executing at that high level while minimizing those couple plays a game that have been detrimental to our success and the team's success.
Gary Thompson, Ducks Illustrated.
Yeah, Coach, on that crucial drive, you didn't get the first down. As you look at it, were you positioned with some people might think it was too conservative, but if you gain 7 yards on the first run, then it's not that conservative. But were the plays the ones that you wanted to call, and did you have the advantage, you think, over Oregon State, or they just played it better than you? What was the problem
on that last drive where we didn't get the first down?
Yes.
I mean, there's always the benefit of hindsight. Hindsight's always 20/20. So certainly after the game, in bed that night, the next day, and even now, you're able to look back with the benefit of hindsight, say, well, maybe I should have done this, or maybe should have done that. We had an inside zone on the first play call that we had run throughout the course of the game, and they brought pressure off the edge, and that's the guy who ended up running it down. The second play, we tried to run a pin and pull to the boundary, and the quarterback got a pull read and got tackled, and we ran a over-under concept that we had run throughout the season that had been successful, and it got covered. So certainly pointing the thumb at myself first, I certainly want to make sure we're calling plays to put the kids in position to be successful, and obviously I didn't do a good enough job of that there because we didn't get the first downs.
James.
Joe, the topic of the running back rotation predates you being here, but obviously Travis taking off and having a lot of success obviously comes at someone's expense. Cyrus had really expanded last year, and the roles were reversed in that capacity. But Cyrus has now kind of gone back to being a goal line only plus territory back, and he had really expanded his role last year. How much of that is a decision from Jim, and how much of that is a decision on you guys have only been averaging in the mid-60s in plays, and there's just only so many reps anybody can have?
Yeah, I think the last part's probably the most accurate, observation that I think we've had between 65 and 68 plays throughout the first 4 games. I think Coach Master does a really good job of putting guys in games in a position that best suits their skill set. And certainly if we were in the 80s and 90s, there'd be more opportunities. But this really, the number of plays kind of aligns with a lot of what we did at Penn State, where there were quick scoring drives with big chunk plays and didn't have a ton of drives necessarily in the game. So Cyrus is a great player. He's done very well in his opportunities, and certainly is, we're able to get more snaps in the game. I think his role will continue to expand.
Ryan Thorburn, Register Guard.
Joe, this might be another number of plays thing, but with Devin Williams emerging and now Micah Pittman coming back, how do you kind of see the wide receiver position and their roles?
No, I think that's a positive. Mike is a guy that's, played a lot of football. He's had a ton of production. Really cares about the game, and so to have him back, and along with the emergence of Devin and Johnny playing well, and certainly Red playing well, and Chris Hudson kind of getting his feet wet as a true freshman. To me, the more bodies you have at that position for how we've been throwing the ball, and the relative percentage of 10 and 11 personnel, we're going to need all those guys moving forward.
Matt Preem, 247 Sports.
Joe, Mario mentioned how you guys went into the season hoping to be around 80 plays per game, and like it's been said, you're around 60. How can you manufacture those extra 20 plays? Is it eliminating the turnovers, or I guess what can you do to make sure you're at that point where you're getting the amount of reps and snaps that you want offensively?
Score slower and get less explosive plays. I guess that would be one way to look at it. Yeah, certainly the turnovers, they eliminate, depending on where it is, it's going to eliminate a certain percentage of number of plays during the course of the game. But I don't know right now that I'm going to trade off 20 additional plays for less points. To me, as long as we're scoring one more than the defense allows, and we're leading the league in scoring and rolling up yardage and averaging close to 9 yards a play, I'll trade that I'll trade 60 plays in doing that for 80 plays and less production.
James.
Joe, you mentioned 24, the corner, who's obviously one of the best in the league, but at linebacker, 8 and 19 are their strong guys, and coming off a game where the going on, the linebacker core was probably the best top to bottom that you guys would face, and they were all productive. You talked about game wreckers, and Jihad Woods was productive. How do you prevent 8 and 19 from being game wreckers?
Yeah, the one guy's the Will linebacker. He's really unique in his skill set. You don't see many 6'6", 250-pound, Will linebackers with his length running around inside the box, and he could cover a lot of ground, and he's very physical. And we talked in our meeting yesterday about, the other guy's ability. They call him an outside linebacker. He's more of a rush end than anything, but he's one of the most athletic and twitchy pass rushers. So our tackles have really got to be on their game, and we got to make sure we're doing a good job, not allowing him to, like I say, adversely affect the game. But those two guys at the first and second level, as you mentioned, are two of the best we've seen this year.
Jerry.
Yeah, Coach. Seems like two of the big factors in your wins at the beginning of the season were DJ Johnson at tight end and Tyler Shuck being able to scramble and run the option effectively. Seemed like Oregon State, did they shut that down? What happened? And DJ didn't see, I know Hunter got him there and did some things, but didn't see much of DJ either. So just
Hunter caught a hot hand, and he was playing well, had some nice receptions, did a good job blocking at the point of attack. And, like you meant, we were more 11 personnel and 10 than we were 12. So I don't think they necessarily, took the tight end out of the game. And relative to, more quarterback pulls or runs, he scored on the one zone read pull down on the goal line. And then a lot of those throws that you see that are reads that get thrown out to Red in the flat or get thrown out to Hunter on the touchdown, those are all reads. And whether it goes to that person or the quarterback runs the ball is dictated by the key. So earlier in the year, those people were playing the pass and we were able to run it. And now that they're folding in on the run, we're able to dump that thing out in the flat. So I don't think it's necessarily less calls for him to run the ball. It's what the person that he's reading is doing. So they've been more concentrated on taking him away. So we've been able to dump the ball out in the flat a little bit more.